My journey with Sussex started about 8 years ago when I wheeled a shepherd's hut into the Whiston Woods in Stenning to sit there for a year, not doing a lot, but just listening to nature. My journey with the Bay began about 3 years ago on my way back from my off-piste chapter when me and my friend Andy decided that we were going to try and sail to COP26 to kind of come back with a bang. When I went down to Brighton Marina to start trying to learn to sail, people would say, "Oh, you're going sailing, are you?" I said, "Yeah." "Oh, where are you going?" "We're going up the Hebrides." "Oh, that's amazing. When are you going?" "October." "Why?" And now I know more about why they said why.
Weather challenges for the next few days.
You shall not pass!
Head towards land.
We get a hit?
Keep curling. I'm trying.
That wasn't forecast.
Yes, that was me falling off the side of the boat. Thankfully, my mate Andy caught me. And there was loads of other mishaps and good and bad and ugly things that happened on that month-long voyage. But the single thing that shaped me the most on that journey was meeting Professor Steve Simpson from Bristol University. He challenged us to a listening mission. He said, "Could you make a transect up the Irish Sea, recording the presence and absence of snapping shrimp that sound like sizzling bacon on recordings?" And we learned that they were present much higher up into the Hebrides than they should be because they only exist in warm water, which showed the evidence of climate change warming the waters. This story got written up in newspapers. I got on stage at COP and was able to share it, sharing the stage with Richard Curtis and Google. That led to me, Steve, and Google doing a partnership the next year in Egypt, taking the ocean from not even being one of the 14 day of themes at this environmental conference to putting a listening booth right in the middle of the blue zone where the conversations between all the politicians were happening. We had managed to get it on the agenda. He taught us many things as well, like that sound travels up to 5 times faster in water than it does in the air, that snapping shrimp can be heard up to 8 miles away off a simple hydrophone. It's a hustling and bustling place. The most exciting part of Steve and his collective's research is that they have found that not only can you play sound that calls fish back into degraded reefs, but you can actually play sound that calls the coral larvae themselves to settle at many times faster than they would without that acoustic enrichment. We can actually use regenerative sounds to bring back our corals. Hope in a time where our coral reefs are being boiled alive. Meanwhile, Andy and I, on that first boat, got stranded in Gia and decided together in the 5 days we were stuck there, which felt like an eternity, that we would commit to going on the next voyage on land with Wilderness Farm, taking my hut from the woods, taking it up to this 10 acres of land just south of Horsham in West Sussex, giving equal value to regenerative permaculture, carbon capturing agroforestry, and rewilding for biodiversity, and leaving just enough space for music and human experience. It's where I now record my conversations called Listening With, and it's our community hub. It's where we think about the next ideas, the schemes that we're going to go out and do. The collaborations and creative exhibitions and installations have continued from that first voyage. And recently I got invited to go to the UN in New York and represent that listening theme there. So last Friday, I found myself in New York, but it had been more than 2 years since that first voyage, and I felt like I needed a fresh experience. So my wife and I decided that we would use Sylvia Earle and Mission Blue's Hope Spot structure, where they've identified 160 spots and communities associated with them around the world.
No, well, just in here.
Hello, God? Is that you? Am I hearing voices, or can you hear that too? Ooh, phew. I thought I was going a bit doolally. Where were we? What were we talking about? God, before God came. New York. We're off to New York, but we wanted to do something new. So we picked one of the hope spots that was semi on the way. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Bequia is an island of 5,000 people based on tourism and fishing. We went to sit and talk with the divers, the fishermen, and the young people. We went on listening missions together, collecting and recording the sounds we think for the very first time around that island. And we took those sounds to the UN and played them. But in that talking shop where they come together to discuss many things, we thought the most powerful thing we could do would be get everybody to listen. This is the sound of a healthy reef recorded in the Philippines by Mary Shodipo. And this is the sound of a degraded reef. Ghost town. We wanted to share that to protect, you have to care. You have to know about it and be connected to it. And to connect, you have to listen. If we want to move from 1% of marine space being truly protected to 50%, we need to awaken new depths of connection. We need to be able to sense the ocean even when we're not near it. And on that day, I was proud to partner on World Oceans Day last Friday with WOPAM, the World Ocean Passive Acoustic Monitoring Project. WOPAM, it's a bit more snappy. And they've got 180 marine acousticians all over the world from 100 universities doing 400 locations of listening all over the world for the second annual snapshot. We're proud to be partnering with them to try and figure out meta-analysis that can tell us what's going on with our world's ocean year on year. What you're listening to now is a work of art by Alejandro Bernal from Colombia, taking those sounds and putting all of those people and parts of our glorious global ocean into one symphony. Have a listen. Pure ocean sounds. See what you can imagine might be in there. And we didn't stop there. We managed to get the listening theme last week connected into the surfing community with the World Surf League. One of the world's best surfers, Geordie Smith, is now saying this.
And I think for the first time we're going to be able to actually hear and see kind of what's going on beneath and how impactful that is. If we can't get surfers to engage in this, then we're dead in the water. But with this, we have a chance. To take 5-10 minutes out of your day to protect what you have and what you've grown up around is such a huge thing that I think every surfer is going to want to do it.
And the final stop on my American road trip was upstate New York. I've never been there. It's very lovely, and I can see why they call it New England. And I went to Cornell University's ornithology lab, which means where they study birds. And around this pond was where the very first recordings, video and audio, of wild birds was taken. It shows a rich history of bioacoustic monitoring, of listening to our natural world, starting with birds and now beginning to explore what can happen under the ocean. It's also the home of the Merlin ID app. How many of you have heard of Merlin ID? Cool. I mean, it's the right audience for it, isn't it? But for those of you who haven't heard of it or tried it, it's for listening to birdsong in your garden or your park. It's absolutely amazing technology that actually connects us to the world that we're in rather than separates us from it. And so I was talking with the professors there about what do we need to do as a platform that's trying to support marine ecologists to make their work more efficient and effective, to try and do what Merlin's done above the waters, below the waters. But as you can tell, I'm relieved to be home. We're back. I literally got in yesterday with my wife, so I'm delighted to be here today. And so thankful to Eric and Katrine for sending me some recordings for us to look at together, to try and get from seeing to listening on some of the stuff that's right here on our doorstep. So this first recording is of a ray. Beautiful. I wouldn't have thought we would have stuff like this on our shore, so it's amazing to see that first and foremost. But secondly, there's nothing to my ear that's particularly novel about the soundscape of this recording done on a GoPro in Lansing. Beautiful to see. It's the starting point. This leery little fella, the French blue-clawed crab, as I'm led to believe, it's got a bit more going on sonically. You can hear a bit of mic sound, but you can also hear him dancing, slightly aggressively attacking us across the stage. Listen to it again. So this isn't necessarily a novel sound signature, But you can see the video and the audio tying up together, which is the beginning of recognition. Have a think about what this might be. Drilling, boat, big fish. It's actually just a log, but it's quite a pretty log, isn't it, to be fair? And also what it does really well is shows that syncing up. We can be pretty confident looking at that video that that sound is what we're seeing. So we can verify that, even though it's not a living organism or anything. Well, there's some living organisms on it, but it's not particularly interesting in itself. But this is the hero of the recordings that Eric sent me. I want you to have a think. I'm going to ask you what you think this might be. Any ideas? What's that? A little lobster? Shout? Dolphin? Cuttlefish? Good ideas. I sent it to our in-house ecologist, who tells me that it's a commonplace, using its pectoral fin to send a warning signal to us, and then it gives up when we get too close and it runs away or swims away. That is not a sound I would have imagined, but actually, to me, that sounds like quite a unique sound signature. It's possible that that behavior is the same across different fish. It's possible that it's different. It's possible that that fish makes a similar sound for different reasons. We don't know yet. This is a really beautiful recording from Eric and Katrine's community because it's crystal clear, I think, because the mussel beds are cleaning the water, but also it helps us really clearly verify an interesting behavior there that our ecologists hadn't seen either. So we'll have to come back and do another conversation to find out how far that behavior and that sound went. But once you've got the sound verified, you can then look for that sound in spaces where you don't have the visual recognition anymore. Our machine learning actually works through visualizing the sounds in spectrograms like this, looking for interesting events, and then looking to see how they occur over time. And you can see I've circled just a little bit of those lines where it's quite obvious that this is something unusual going on. It's a massive pleasure to be here today to see all of this amazing regenerative and restorative work coming together in community. And I'm really, really excited about where the Sussex Bay goes next. It's my passion to make sure that it is protected, that we do everything we can to protect the good work that happens here. And I would love to see the Sussex Bay, this 100-mile stretch, becoming the world's first sonically protected area. I think we could start with just 10 sound buoys live streaming placed along the coastline to get a sense of what is happening on the uplift of life as it rises, but also what's happening when sneaky buggers turn their radars off and try and do things that they shouldn't be doing. Can we make sure that we hear the life and push back on those that seek to encroach that space that we all want to protect? At the beginning, it says, what does listening do? For me, I've seen in so many different ways that it creates new hope. In people when they put the recorders in for the first time as a practice, but also when we hear new things and we discover new things with species under the water that we didn't know, it helps us value things in ways that maybe we've forgotten or we've lost. We might even be able to take those live stream sounds and pump them up to the pathways in the green hills to get those ramblers to see the blue mirror down on the bay and to draw them in to hear the life and bring them down. It could be a very exciting way to get people to engage and get underwater once again. And I'd like to leave you with a few words I scribbled on my phone a few weeks ago. Once upon a time, we ruled these seas. We summoned its power to rule the world. Even time bowed down and was given its uniform by Britannia. We were listening, we were making and experimenting with sound mirrors and Marconi's transmission technology to see more, to know more, to conquer more. Britannia, oh Britannia, where is your power now? May we come to the fraying edge of our terra firma and breathe again, to re-wonder, to reconnect, and to reimagine. Oh Britannia, there is a bigger global story for you to use your power for. Not to rule, but to rewild. Let us come back to our senses once again. Machines, nature, and mere humans alike. Curiosity to know the depths of our ocean once again. Not to battle, but to dance. Not to conquer, but co-create. Almighty sea, might we listen to your stories of old and find new adventures to embark on. Might what we hear give rise to a new image that may touch us anew and change the way we move. We are lost when we lose you, and we are found when we find home in your still great unknown. Thanks.